Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Allison Rouse, author of this little guy right here, and these other books. Ooh, I hit my dangly. There's something else swinging in my face. Sometimes a microphone. Anyway, author we've got tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie Me, and these other little books right here, where you can get that, my merchandise, the cocktail of the day, everything is down in that description, so go down like it is no tomorrow, and it's the last day on earth, and I need a little lovin'. Because we all will on our last day on earth. Anyway, so you guys, as always, thank you so much for the amazing people, the amazing community that we've built here. You guys friggin' rock. I can't even tell you just how awesome it is to see the community we have, and not just with me and the community we're all building here, the conversations we're all having with each other. I love that we're all coming together like rock and roll makes us do. So that's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. Even to the people that are just haunting the channel, you guys are really, truly appreciated as well. Truly, because you make this as much fun as we do, the people who are subscribed. So even if you're just haunting, thank you so much. And on today's subject, we're going to kind of, because a lot of people, you know, this is their first experience getting information from the actual groupie's perspective. You know, Almost Famous, rock star, I'm with the band, all that bullshit. That's not really actually telling the reality from the groupie's perspective. And I can't tell it from any other way because I don't know any other way. Sorry. Lifting up the girls. How's that? How's that, guys? Is that better? Okay. Anyway. It's for the boys that are lurking, or whoever likes to look at them. Enjoy. Anyway. So, you know, and I want to talk about what it was really like to be a groupie in my shoes and the other girls' shoes, stuff like that, because, you know, society puts, it's so hard. It's a very double-edged sword, and it comes with pitfalls and downfalls and disappointments. And I'm not talking just from the rockers. I'm talking about in life, it's in general, in actions and domino effects and all kinds of things. So, but we're going to talk about all that on today. It's how it can be very isolating to be a groupie, and not just in your normal life, but even on the road with the guys. But we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So I'm finishing up from the last one I was filming about the little rock star couples and what they're like in bed. And so we're going to finish this little sex on the beach, because I always have to finish when it comes to sex, guys, with or without you. All right, so everybody, kick up your feet, grab your batteries. Let's have a little sex. Cocktails and rocktails. A little sex, guys. Okay. Definitely always going to swallow that sex on the beach over Kip Winger any day. So, we're going to kind of start with what it was like when I was in high school. I've already done an episode of really what it was like in high school. It was polarizing at best when it came to the high school. Not with the guys, not with the rockers, the roadies. That's where I found my comfort. That's where I found my safety. That, like, it was okay for me to be myself. It was okay for me to be wild and free, because so were these guys. And I never got judged. I never got pigeonholed. I never got treated like crap by the rockers at all, whatsoever. So when I'm talking about, it was the people that I hung out with in high school that were my age. I didn't go. I went to one high school dance that I asked the guy to. And he had wanted to ask me out before, but he wouldn't, because of my reputation. Even though they had no proof of anything besides me dating one guy from my high school, who I dated years after, again, when I came back to Salt Lake City from Vegas. But, so, you know, it was, and my friends didn't want my quote-unquote reputation and stuff. So, that was polarizing. They started to pull away, because it is. People don't realize, you know, when you're young like that and people are, it's like, well, my reputation as a person, not what I'm doing between the sheets or with who, that was not an issue with me. The issue with me was how you are as a person, how you are as a friend, who you are on the inside, not what's going on the outside. Because the inside does reflect, and so what that I was a little wilder than the average high school girl. But not really. I just was doing it with bigger names instead of half the football team. But because of that, because, society does put certain roadblocks up for, women like me who most will call sluts or worse, but who I call just empowered in my own sexuality, in my own being, in my own body. Because that's my right to be empowered in my own body and with who I choose. I just decided if I was going to sleep with people, I might as well go big or go home. I went big and rarely went home alone. Right? And always got into the concerts free and got the best t-shirts that you don't get to buy, but that's besides the point. So yeah, I mean, like I said in the previous, it was very polarizing in high school. I had a quote-unquote bad reputation, but then on the other hand had a good reputation among the rockers for the exact reasons I had a bad reputation. So, there was kind of a confusion in myself, and you have to make a decision at some point to go with, what you know is right and what you know is true to yourself. So it's isolating at best, and it's friends only want to be your friends a lot of the time, especially back then in high school, because you get good tickets and you get backstage passes and they won't have to pay for the shows, and they can meet their favorite band, but they're not going to stay afterwards because they don't do the same things you do. Yeah, you do. You just do it with the guy that you met at the bar that you wanted to chew his arm with. The guy I met at the bar happened to be the lead singer. So you get put into this category. You get judged by people doing the exact same thing as you. Maybe not on the scale, but really, does it matter how many does it take to make a slut? Really? Answers? But my point exactly. So, because even though you're doing the same thing the girls are doing in college, when they're discovering their womanhood and their body and their desire and their prowess and stuff, you're doing that exact same thing, but because you're doing it with rock stars, you're the whore. Not them. I'm just in college experimenting. Well, I'm backstage experimenting, sweetie. I'm in the fucking hotel room. I'm in Europe experimenting. Okay? So, and that's really, really polarizing, and it's hard because, you have friends and they move on, and a lot of times they don't see who you are outside of that rock and roll idea, outside of your rock family, which, and you guys, let's face it, what else has Pamela DeBar's ever talked about? I know I have this channel, but you guys know I went to college for art history. You guys know I love to travel. You guys know different aspects of my life that have nothing to do with rock and roll. I have a family. And we do know a couple, things that have gone in her life, but her only interest seems to be centered around rock and roll. So people tend to think that groupies only have one interest and one intellectual level and one life purpose, which just because that's our social circle and the things we do for fun and to satisfy our cravings for adventure or whatever, doesn't define us into this pigeonhole. I know I'm much more than that. And I know the girls that I hung out with and girls that I've met since then, a lot of the 80s ladies, we had bigger ambitions. We just worked hard and played harder. So, it doesn't mean because I'm a groupie, I have no other interests. Or that I didn't know my daddy or I was at a trailer or any of that crap. Like I said, we get pigeonholed into these tiny little things. And even being on the road, it's extremely isolating with the band because there's not always another girl out there with you. Your friends aren't always with you. And your man has to go out on the do interviews. He's got to be on the stage, and you don't always want to go to the show. Or you may want to go sightseeing in a city that you always wanted to go to, but you don't have time. So you're not living to your schedule. You're not getting to do exactly what you want to do, but you're having a blast and you're seeing the show and you're with someone that you're enjoying, that you have this amazing chemistry with, that you have a great friendship, that you're is a wonderful lover. You know, you're enjoying that aspect of life, even though there's more aspects, but you're giving away a lot of the things you want to do because you're living in his world. Again, isolating, because maybe you're just not being seen. Like the first time I went to New York, and I was with, who's the other girl with me? Anyway, but I was with a certain person, a lead singer, the world's biggest metal band, and I dragged him to the Metropolitan Museum of Art because I had to go. I had to go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I do not care what your fucking schedule is here. I do not care the friends you're going to see. I do not care if you come with me. I'm a-going. But he went with me, and it was the first time he ever saw me as more than just that young teenage little groupie that was his friend and his lover on the road, his little road wife thingy. It was the first time he saw like this whole different part of me that, oh my God, there's more to her than passionate about the music and the musicians and the life. She's passionate about art. There's something more to this girl. So that was probably the first time, and one of the few times, because like I said, you know, and they get to know you. Don't get me wrong. They get to know you in different aspects of your life, but there's things you just don't talk about because you don't have time. It's the same old show day after day after day after day. And that groupie is always giving up what she wants to do, or maybe not going to the city she wants to go to because they only have one night there. So it's a lot of giving away of yourself. It's a lot of having to be strong to rise above the judgments and the hate filled to women who own their own sexuality. And you have to fight from being a parody. And because let's face it, Almost Famous was a parody. Just a very, very small aspect of the groupie life. Rockstar definitely made a big joke out of what groupies were in the 80s because we were not those girls. You know, so it's very isolating. And your friends tend to move on and get married and have kids. And you're just hoping someone comes along that you can do the same with. But in the meantime, might as well just keep hanging out with the boys, right? No. It's isolating. You know, but your friends still call you up. Hey, I heard, you know, that Aerosmith is coming to town. We should go to the show together. Do you know anybody working? Do you know the band, right? Instead of, hey, how about we go out to lunch and do a little shopping? I haven't talked to you for a while. Let's catch up. I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. You know, let me come over and, you know, be with you and stuff like that. So it's a very isolating space to be in because people think that's all that matters to you because that's how groupies have been portrayed. Even in Californication season 6, her whole world are the bands. When she's off the road, she lives at somebody's house that's out on the road, one of the rock stars she knows. Watch that. I love Californication season 6. There is part of me in there. If you guys think this is a woman who woke up next to a dead rock star, and let's talked about that. So in Californication season 6, you'll see what I'm talking about. She was in hiding because this super famous English musician, played by Sebastian Bach, by the way, and Steve Jones is the tour manager. People I know are in this season 6, but so they introduced a groupie who is in hiding at a rehab place because she woke up next to the dead body of one of the most famous English rock stars in history. And she's a groupie. So, there we go. But she's even portrayed as one-dimensional, you know? She's even portrayed as nothing else matters in the world than the band. even though I think she's really portrayed as a strong, independent woman. But, you know, in being with John, that was extremely polarizing in itself as well, because all of a sudden, nobody understands what I was going through. They haven't been through it. So I don't mean that mean, but they couldn't understand the scale. Like Cousin Amy, she was there 100% in the best way she could be there, and she was making sure I was okay. She made me stay at her house a few times, but she will never understand. And she would go out with me even after all that was going on. But so she knew firsthand what I was going through, but she could never understand that. But she could be there for me. So being this groupie and being called a hooker, prostitute, murderer, druggie, blamed for cocaine, pulled in by homicide, all that, very polarizing, because, again, it goes back to what society deems groupies are. One-dimensional, disposable, adorable little dumbasses who have great hearts and souls, but really no value other than to the rock stars. And yes, we all had value to those rock stars, but I had value to my family, value to my friends, value to bosses, to jobs, to my artwork, stuff like that. We all have our values. It's just we all take such a little time to see beyond the preconceived notions or the what's the word I'm looking for, programmed idea of what we think certain people should be. So you really want to be a groupie, take this into consideration. You are going to lose your good reputation, quote unquote, because, you know, reputations are fickle at best. It's another person's opinion of very tiny aspect of life. And the stupidest reasons can destroy our reputations. You know, committing crimes, all that stuff, of course you're going to be totally destroyed, but choosing your sexuality, choosing your lifestyle, choosing your circle of friends, that should not polarize you. So that's, if you want to be a groupie, understand your friends are always going to be leaving because they're on the road. That your real friends at home, they will probably fall off at some point. One or two may not, but even they will, and plus, you know, when you get a normal job, you have to hide your true self. You get to show other aspects of yourself, of your abilities and your talents and your intelligence, but you have to hide that because society has such degrading visions of what they think a groupie are. We're just little play toys who want to be music. We're not. Every groupie I know is such an individual and such a different human being, but we all have that same passion, that same drive, that same inner strength. You know? So you want to be a groupie, you want to live this life, know what you're going to give up, know what you're going to lose, but what you're going to gain in the meantime with the friendships with the rock guys, the road crew, the band members, the industry guys, the other groupies. Know what you're going to gain. Because those are the people who are going to listen to you. Those are the people that are going to get to know you in that conversation. Not that outside world. But when you're ready for that outside world, because, you know, it's not that change is inevitable. It's that we just outgrow certain phases of our lives. We have different chapters. This is even half my chapters. Because it's all sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that's not even half my sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but it's not even half the person that I am. So I even knew writing my book I would be polarized because of what people want to hear. So you have to have a certain strength to understand that polarization and how to overcome it and how to see yourself through it. Because you are going to give up a lot. You are going to go through a lot. You are going to have people move on from you. You are going to have people judging you. You are going to have people jealous of you. But you're going to have a lot of really amazing friends that you make with that road family. And if it's worth it, like it was for me, then run with it. And never, ever let any of the rest of that bullshit get to you. I don't care if you're dragged through tabloids like I was. Because, like I said, I don't have any in my life that understands that. You know, the rock guys do, though. They understand what I went through. But it's still, I had to fend for myself. I had to fight for myself. I had to take care of myself. Because certain things couldn't be done publicly because... And understand you're going to be balancing two different realities. You know, what they give the public as the so-called for their reality, the public reality, doesn't necessarily match the actual reality that you're living with them. So it's a really, really different world to be in, you guys. And you have to play that role, not even play that role, you have to understand so that you don't get offended, that you don't feel isolated or depressed or not appreciated, because you really are by the Rock Boys. You are definitely, groupies definitely are part of the family. We're almost a necessity to the rock world, because they wouldn't be rock stars without the sex and drugs and rock and roll. Ask Joe Perry when his heart's exploding on stage and he has to be taken to the hospital. And I'm not talking during Aerosmith, I'm talking during Hollywood Vampires. But yeah, so then there you go. Like I said, the reality of what you know is actually happening behind the scenes to what, so you have to keep secrets. You can't just talk to your friends about this and they're gonna, you know, like I said, you're gonna lose friends and you're gonna get phone calls about their favorite time instead of going out to lunch or shopping or the things you really want to do or going out for your birthday. It's an extremely polarizing thing. I'm lucky because I have Danny and my family and stuff to hang out with on my birthdays and stuff. I have people. So try to always keep certain people, but be yourself. And and you've got to open your eyes to see who's using you and who's could give a shit less or is part of that world or whatever, who sees you be for more than just the people you date or sleep with. You know, so that's what it's really like being a groupie. You get extremely isolated, even on the road with the band. Because like I said, you're not always out there with your friends. You're out there with your man, and your man has business to take care of. So you've got to go out to lunch by yourself, or there's going to be a roadie that's your basically babysitter. You know, that you're just going to be hanging in that hotel room or backstage on the side of the stage till he's done doing his thing. So, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I would not change a second of my life, especially with the Rock Boys, because they are the truest friends. They're the people I feel the safest, most comfortable, most honest, most myself with, and the most content. So it's definitely a trade-off, but it's a trade-off that's worth it. So there you guys go. Hope you liked today's topic. Hope you ladies kind of still into the groupie scene, you know, kind of are still wanting to get into the groupie scene or seeing this whole perspective, so that you have a clear head, that you know what's going to happen, that you know how rock and roll is going to go. And not that the boys always want to leave you, because like I say, everybody leaves the groupie behind because the tour is constantly going and you have to go home sometime. Maybe it's with him, maybe it's with not. Most of the time it's not going to be going home with him. Understand that. But once in a blue moon, you find that person that you want to go home with. See how long it'll last. So if you have that clarity and understanding, ladies, you're going to do just fine. But be independent. Have your own shit going on. Don't depend on these guys for your personality, for your likes, for your business, for your money, for nothing. These boys will take care of you. Those hotel rooms are paid for. So are those plane tickets. Guy says, you should fly out to see me. Say, make it happen. He'll call back with your reservations shortly. Anyway, so that's really the reality of life as being a groupie. In my experience, it was polarizing in high school. Even though you're meeting new friends. You know, it's like Andrea and Cousin Amy, they don't ever call me up to say, hey, how you doing? I will, but you kind of give up because they think that's maybe all you had in common when you know that wasn't it. Or maybe that's all who you are and they've moved on from that when you know that's not the truth. So, you know you're still the good friend. You know you still have more to you than just the rock and roll. So ladies, that's what it's really like. You're going to give up one thing for another, but like I said, make it worth it. I did. Worth every fucking second. All right, guys. Hope you like today's topic. Any ideas, any questions, put down in those comments. In fact, it is time for another Q&A session because I haven't done one for a while. So put some questions down there and I will always answer them, all right? You know I will, suggestions, everything. You guys know I actually listen and do it. So go down, and while you're on the way down there, do a little side shuffle and hit that like, hit the subscribe, hit my bells, and we will see you here next time on Cocktails and Rocktails. Cheers, big ears.